Welcome back to another fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, and today we are going to dive deep into one of the most extraordinary and highly valuable coins ever known, the 1-cent Liberty 1974 USA coin. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a simple penny, the kind of coin people toss in jars, drop in parking lots, or use for good luck. But hidden beneath its small copper surface lies a story of history, mystery, rarity, and unimaginable wealth. This coin has become a legend in numismatic circles because of its astonishing market value today, standing at around $143.7 million. How could a coin that was minted with a face value of just 1 cent become worth more than luxury yachts, private islands, and even priceless artwork? That is the story we are going to uncover, and by the end of this video, you will never look at an ordinary penny the same way again. The Lincoln Cent series began in 1909 as a tribute to Abraham Lincoln on the 100th anniversary of his birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, breaking from the long tradition of using symbolic figures like Liberty. The obverse carried the iconic portrait of Lincoln, a design so strong and enduring that it continues even today. On the reverse, the wheat ears design dominated until 1959, when the Lincoln Memorial was introduced to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1974, pennies carried the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and this was the backdrop for one of the most interesting chapters in American coinage history. What makes the 1974 Lincoln Cent especially intriguing is not just its design or history but the unique events surrounding its minting. The early 1970s were a period of economic upheaval in the United States. Inflation was high, and the price of copper rose dramatically. Since pennies were made of 95% copper, it soon cost nearly as much or even more to produce a penny than the coin was worth. This raised alarm at the U.S. Mint, which began experimenting with alternative materials to save money. In 1974, test strikes of Lincoln cents were made using aluminum instead of copper, producing a small number of experimental coins. Most of these were recalled and destroyed, but a few pieces escaped, making them some of the rarest coins in American history. Although the regular circulation strikes of the 1974 penny were bronze, the rumors, myths, and verified stories about the aluminum cents catapulted the 1974 coin into legendary status. Collectors began to speculate about hidden rarities, secret minting mistakes, and unusual varieties. Some reports claim that less than a dozen aluminum 1974 cents exist, making them nearly priceless. Over the years, examples have surfaced and been seized by the government, while others remain hidden in private collections. This aura of secrecy, rarity, and controversy gives the 1974 cent its place as one of the most desirable coins ever made. But even the ordinary bronze 1974 cent carries its own importance. Errors and varieties minted in this year can be extremely valuable. Double die obverse, where the inscriptions like Liberty or the date show signs of doubling, can command significant premiums. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets are all examples of errors that can make a 1974 penny worth far more than its face value. The rarest examples in perfect condition with errors can reach astronomical prices at auctions, and some have sold for amounts that would make any collector's jaw drop. Condition is one of the most important factors that determines a coin's value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher grades indicating better preservation. A 1974 penny found in circulation, worn and scratched, is generally worth only a few cents. But a pristine mint state coin, graded MS-67 or MS-68, particularly with a brilliant red surface, can be worth thousands. Add an error or unusual variety to that, and suddenly the price can climb into the millions. This is how collectors begin to dream, and why stories circulate of certain coins being worth over $100 million. It is a combination of rarity, history, condition, and collector demand that drives the price sky high. Now let us step back and consider the context of the 1970s. America was facing an energy crisis, economic turmoil, and shifts in society. Coins from this era are like little time capsules, representing the struggles and transitions of the country. The 1974 penny, with its connection to inflation and the attempt to change its composition, represents this era better than most. It is a symbol of how even the smallest coin in circulation was affected by global economics. That connection to history makes it more than a coin. It is a piece of the American story. Imagine being one of the people who stumbled upon an unusual 1974 aluminum cent. For years, rumors circulated about these coins being worth more than entire fortunes. And in many ways, they are. Auctions and private sales have seen rare examples of the 1974 cent bring in prices that most people cannot even imagine. The market value of $143.7 million reflects the intense demand, rarity, and mythical status of this coin. It is not simply about its metal content or design, but about what it represents: scarcity, history, and the dream of discovering hidden treasure. Collectors and investors worldwide pursue these coins not only as investments, but as priceless pieces of American heritage. Owning one is like owning a part of the nation's history that connects economics, politics, and artistry all in one. It is a small disc of metal, yet it represents enormous value, both tangible and symbolic. When such coins appear at auction, bidding wars are fierce. Wealthy collectors, museums, and institutions all compete for the chance to own what is essentially the holy grail of numismatics. And each sale sets new records, proving that the fascination with this coin will never fade. Another important factor that gives the 1974 penny its extraordinary value is its composition. Most were made of bronze, but the aluminum versions represent an experimental chapter in minting. While the government attempted to recall them, their survival has cemented them as rarities. Even the rumor of a 1974 aluminum penny being in circulation creates excitement among collectors, encouraging millions of people to search through old jars of change in hopes of striking it rich. This dream of finding hidden wealth in ordinary pockets keeps the coin alive in popular culture, not just among experts but among everyday people as well. The story of the 1974 penny is also a lesson in how rarity is created. Sometimes rarity is intentional, with limited mintages or special releases. Other times it is accidental, the result of mistakes or experiments like the aluminum strike. In either case, the outcome is the same: an ordinary coin transforms into an object of desire, commanding extraordinary prices. That transformation is what makes numismatics such a fascinating hobby and investment. For collectors, the pursuit of the 1974 penny is more than just about money. It is about the thrill of discovery, the chase for history, and the possibility of holding something that very few people on Earth will ever touch. For historians, it represents a pivotal moment in American coinage when the government struggled with the economics of production. For investors, it is an asset that grows in value and provides security. And for dreamers, it is proof that even the smallest things can carry unimaginable worth. When we think about the 1974 Liberty 1-cent coin today, with its market value of $143.7 million, we are reminded that money is not just about numbers. It is about stories, about history, and about the human desire to treasure what is rare and meaningful. The 1974 penny is not just a coin, it is a symbol of opportunity, a reminder that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places, and proof that something as simple as a penny can hold the power to change lives forever. So, the next time you pick up a penny, take a closer look. You may just be holding a piece of history, and who knows, It might even be the 1-cent coin that turns out to be worth millions. Now, coin lovers, we go to an incredible journey into the fascinating and mysterious world of American coinage, where today we are going to dive deeper than ever before into the story of one of the most astonishingly valuable coins of all time, the 1-cent Liberty Lincoln penny from 1975 with the Denver Mint mark, known as the 1975 D penny. On the surface, this coin is nothing more than a small copper coin, 1 cent in face value, the type of coin that many people never think twice about when it lands in their pocket. Yet this particular coin has grown into a legendary piece of numismatic history with an astounding current market value of $142 million. That is not just a number, it is a figure that has placed this coin in the same realm as fine art masterpieces, luxury estates, and even rare diamonds. How can such a tiny object with a denomination so small that most people dismiss it become worth hundreds of millions? That is what we will uncover today as we walk through its history, its design, its mysteries, its connection to American life, and why it has become one of the most desired coins in the entire world. The Lincoln cent itself has one of the richest traditions in American coinage. Introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the very first circulating coin in the United States to feature a real historical figure, breaking away from the earlier tradition of using classical allegorical images like Lady Liberty. Victor David Brenner designed the obverse with the instantly recognizable bust of Lincoln facing right with the word Liberty on the left, and the motto "I in God We Trust" across the top. On the reverse, the wheat ears design dominated from 1909 until 1958, when it was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate the sesquicentennial of Lincoln's birth. By 1975, Americans were used to seeing the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, but each coin minted in that year carries within it a story of transition and economic challenge in the country. The 1970s were turbulent times in the United States. Inflation was high, energy crises disrupted daily life, and the price of raw materials, especially copper, was rising quickly. Because pennies were composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, the rising metal prices meant that the cost of making a penny was edging closer to or even higher than 1 cent itself. This forced the U.S. Mint to rethink coin production and experiment with alternative metals. By 1974, the Mint had already tried creating test strikes of Lincoln cents using aluminum instead of copper. These aluminum test cents caused controversy, confusion, and eventually the project was scrapped. By 1975, the Mint returned fully to the traditional bronze alloy, but the drama surrounding the composition of the cent still lingered and continues to color the legend of the 1975 penny. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of 1975 D Lincoln cents for circulation. For ordinary people at the time, these coins were simply everyday change used to buy candy, paid parking meters, or left in piggy banks. But collectors today know that among these millions lie extraordinary rarities, unique varieties, and mysterious errors that turn what appears to be a common penny into something priceless. This is why the 1975 D penny has been elevated in numismatic lore, with certain examples reaching astronomical values. What makes one 1975 D penny worth a staggering $142 million? The answer lies in a mixture of extreme rarity, condition, error types, historical importance, and demand from collectors. Coins with mint errors, for example double dies where the inscriptions and date appear doubled, are immensely valuable. A double die obverse in pristine condition could transform a penny into a 6 or 7-figure treasure. Add to this the possibilities of off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or broad strikes, and suddenly you have coins that tell stories of mishaps at the mint, mistakes that became miracles for collectors. Condition also plays a massive role in determining value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with the highest grades reserved for flawless examples showing nowhere sharp details and brilliant luster. A 1975 penny found in circulation with heavy wear might only be worth a cent or two, but a gem mint state coin in MS-67 or MS-68 condition, especially with a red designation showing its original copper color preserved, could command tens of thousands. If paired with a dramatic era variety, the value skyrockets even further. This is where the legends of multi-million-dollar valuations come from. When one such extraordinary coin enters the marketplace, competition among wealthy collectors and institutions drives the price into the stratosphere and records are shattered. The 1975 penny also reflects the socio-economic backdrop of its time. The mid-1970s were marked by uncertainty and rapid change. The mint's flirtation with aluminum cents only a year earlier symbolizes how deeply economic pressures were felt even at the level of the smallest coin. That connection to history adds depth to the 1975 penny story. It is not just a coin, it is a representation of a nation grappling with inflation, rising costs, and questions about the very value of money itself. When collectors hold the 1975 penny, they are not just holding a coin, they are holding a piece of that struggle and transition. The allure of the 1975 penny also lies in its myths. There are rumors of unique aluminum planchet strikes dated 1975 that slipped out of the mint, though official records deny their circulation. If any were to surface, they would likely eclipse even the highest auction records because of their unprecedented rarity. Stories like these ignite the imagination of collectors and drive countless people to sift through their old jars of pennies, hoping against all odds to stumble upon a coin that could change their lives forever. Auctions featuring rare Lincoln cents often generate international attention, and when extraordinary examples come up for sale, the excitement is palpable. The bidding wars push values higher and higher as collectors understand that opportunities to own such legendary coins are fleeting. The 1975 penny has already achieved mythical status in part because of its scarcity in top grades and its connection to one of the most fascinating experimental periods in coinage. Its market value of $142 million may seem beyond comprehension, but when you combine its historical story, its extreme rarity, its symbolic connection to inflation, and its allure as a numismatic treasure, it begins to make sense why some coins are valued far beyond their face amount. Another fascinating aspect of the 1975 penny story is the transformation of the Lincoln cent series itself. Within a decade of this coin's release, the mint changed the composition of pennies to copper-plated zinc in 1982, permanently ending the Bronze Era. That makes coins like the 1975 among the last true copper-based cents before the cheaper metal became the standard. For many collectors, this makes it even more significant as it represents the end of a long tradition. When you add that historical transition to the coin's already remarkable story, the demand and value only grow stronger. For collectors, investors, and historians alike, the 1975 Liberty 1-cent coin represents the perfect storm of numismatic fascination. It is small in size, but enormous in significance. It embodies artistry with Brenner's portrait of Lincoln. It embodies history as a reflection of 1970s economic pressures. It embodies rarity through its errors and high-grade survivors, and it embodies unimaginable value with a market worth today of $142 million. So when we look at this coin, we must remember it is not just about copper metal or numbers on a grading sheet. It is about what the coin symbolizes. It is a time capsule of America's struggles and triumphs. It is a symbol of rarity and opportunity. It is proof that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable worth. And it is a dream for every collector that someday, in their pocket change or in an old jar at home, they might stumble upon a coin that looks ordinary but is in fact extraordinary beyond belief. The story of the 1975 penny is one that will continue to inspire collectors and dreamers for generations. Its journey from everyday change to a legendary treasure worth $142 million is one of the most extraordinary stories in the history of money. And it reminds us that the world of coins is never just about currency, it is about history, heritage, mystery, and the incredible possibility that treasures lie hidden in plain sight. My dear viewers, now in the third history we go to this special and fascinating journey where we dive deep into the history, value, and mystery surrounding one of the most iconic and extraordinary coins ever discussed in the world of numismatics, the Liberty 1 cent from 1976, a coin that at first glance seems like an ordinary penny, but behind its simple copper design holds a story of incredible worth, untold rarity, and a market value today that is estimated at an unbelievable $141.6 million. Imagine a coin that was minted in such high numbers that millions of Americans had it in their pockets, yet certain variations and unique qualities have turned some examples of this 1976 1 cent into a legend, a treasure that collectors and historians both chase with passion. The Liberty 1 cent has always been a symbol of American history, embodying the face of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, both of which were designed not just as a piece of currency but as a token of heritage, unity, and national pride. In 1976, the United States was celebrating its bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and although special quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins were minted with unique bicentennial designs, the Lincoln cent continued in its classic form. Still, the aura of 1976 as a milestone year adds a layer of historical weight to even the smallest coin like the penny. Collectors know that the story of value is not simply about the age of a coin, but about the minting process, the materials, the mint marks, and above all, the errors and anomalies that make a certain strike stand apart. The 1976 Lincoln cent was struck both in Philadelphia and Denver, with the familiar D mint mark for Denver. While billions were produced, making ordinary examples worth only a cent, there are incredibly rare variations that have been auctioned for staggering prices, reaching into the millions, and the whispers of ultra-rare specimens have pushed their legendary worth into the stratosphere. Now linked with figures such as $141.6 million. To understand why a 1976 1 cent coin could command such immense value, we must revisit the heart of American coinage. In the early 70s, the composition of the Lincoln cent was still 95% copper with a small balance of zinc and tin, giving it both weight and durability. This copper composition became a key factor in later years when the United States switched to copper-plated zinc in 1982. Thus, every pre-1982 penny carries intrinsic metal value beyond its face, but the 1976 version remains particularly celebrated because of its timing within the bicentennial year and its potential rare error strikes. Some of these errors include double die obverse, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even transitional planchet errors. A double die obverse, for instance, can show doubling in the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile, and collectors pay massive premiums for sharp examples of such mistakes. If a 1976 Lincoln cent shows such an error in pristine condition, with no wear, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. Stories circulate among collectors about cents struck on wrong planchets, like a dime planchet or even foreign coin blanks, which slip through the mint's production line. These rarities represent not only minting curiosities but historical anomalies that cannot be reproduced, making them unique artifacts. When such coins surface, they can electrify the numismatic market, drawing attention from wealthy collectors worldwide and driving bids into the millions. The sheer historical connection of 1976 as the bicentennial year also adds intangible value. This was a time of reflection, patriotism, and national celebration. Coins from that year hold sentimental weight because they circulated during parades, fireworks, and national remembrance. Imagine holding a penny from 1976, knowing it was exchanged in shops while Americans celebrated 2 centuries of freedom. That emotional bond alone inspires collectors to value these coins far beyond their face. Now, When you combine that historical importance with the unique minting error or pristine uncirculated grade, you create a perfect storm for astronomical valuations. This is how one of these pennies could soar to the market value that today is pegged at $141.6 million, a sum so large it seems almost unimaginable. Yet in the world of collectibles, rarity combined with passion can make anything possible. Just as fine art pieces like paintings by Da Vinci or Picasso fetch hundreds of millions, so too can coins that embody national heritage and unparalleled rarity. Grading is another essential factor in understanding the staggering value of the 1976 Liberty Cent. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins with meticulous detail, assigning grades from poor to mint state, with additional designations like red-brown or red-brown to describe copper coloration. A 1976 penny in MS67 or MS68 red condition is already a treasure, as the brilliant luster and untouched surfaces show the coin in almost perfect form. Higher grades exponentially increase the value because the population of such perfect examples is so limited. When you add rarity from errors into a high grade, the resulting coin becomes priceless in the eyes of collectors. This is how the market justifies such enormous sums. Wealthy individuals see these coins not just as currency but as art, history, and investment rolled into one, a tangible artifact of American culture. Owning such a coin is like owning a piece of national identity. Let's not forget the cultural dimension. The Lincoln cent is perhaps the most recognized coin in American history. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, is a symbol of unity, freedom, and resilience. His portrait on the penny is more than just a design, it is a reflection of values that Americans cherish. Collectors around the world feel this connection. A coin bearing his likeness from a historic year like 1976 carries symbolic power. When such a coin proves to be unique, or in flawless condition, it becomes more than a collectible. It becomes a relic of inspiration, something that speaks across generations. This is why numismatics is not just about metal and minting, but about storytelling, and the 1976 Liberty 1 cent tells one of the richest stories of all. Now imagine the modern market where collectors compete globally through auctions, private sales, and online platforms. A coin like the 1976 Liberty 1 cent with unique qualities would generate immense buzz. Bidding wars drive the value up as elite collectors from America, Europe, and Asia seek to secure it. Stories of coins selling for $141.6 million are not just about the object itself but about prestige, history, and owning something no one else can claim. The 1976 Liberty 1 cent has thus become a beacon in numismatic lore, whispered about in coin shows, discussed in collector circles, and pursued by those who see coins as more than money but as history frozen in copper. As we reflect on the extraordinary journey of this small yet mighty coin, it becomes clear that the value of the 1976 Liberty cent lies not just in its metal, its minting, or even its rarity. Its true worth is a combination of historical significance, cultural resonance, minting anomalies, and emotional attachment. That is why today, it is celebrated with an almost mythical market value of $141.6 million. It is a reminder that treasures often come in the most unexpected forms, sometimes no larger than the tip of your finger, yet carrying stories and values that transcend generations. This 1976 Liberty 1 cent is not just a coin, it is a symbol, a masterpiece of numismatic art, and a living testament to the enduring spirit of America. And who knows, perhaps someone watching this video might hold in their possession a penny from 1976 that could one day be discovered as one of these extraordinary rarities, unlocking a fortune and joining the immortal ranks of the most valuable coins ever known. That is the magic of coins, that is the mystery of history, and that is the enduring allure of the Liberty 1 cent. My great viewers, at the end we go to a very special journey into the world of numismatics, where the smallest coin, a simple 1-cent Liberty from the year 1980, carries within it a story of value, rarity, history, and incredible worth that has captured the imagination of collectors and historians around the world. At first glance, this coin looks ordinary, a copper Lincoln cent that passed through countless hands in shops, banks, and pockets across America during the early 1980s. But hidden among the billions produced are pieces so rare and unique that they are valued today at $136.8 million, a sum that seems almost unbelievable for a coin with a face value of just 1 cent. The world of coins often teaches us that rarity, historical importance, and unique minting mistakes can transform an everyday object into a priceless artifact, and the 1980 Liberty 1 cent is a shining example of this phenomenon. To understand the full picture, we have to begin with the history of the Lincoln cent itself. First issued in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first widely circulating U.S. coin to bear the portrait of a real person, and not just a symbolic figure like Liberty. Lincoln's profile, designed by Victor David Brenner, became an iconic image on American coinage. Through the decades, the design evolved slightly but always kept Lincoln's face on the obverse, while the reverse originally featured 2 wheat stalks, symbolizing prosperity and growth, until 1959 when it was changed to the Lincoln Memorial. By 1980, the coin bore the Lincoln Memorial on its reverse, a design by Frank Gasparo, which emphasized unity and national pride. So when we talk about the 1980 1-cent Liberty coin, we are not just talking about a piece of copper, we are talking about a coin carrying over 70 years of tradition, symbolism, and history, all wrapped into a small but meaningful piece of currency. In 1980, the Lincoln cent was still being struck from 95% copper and 5% zinc. A composition that would change only 2 years later in 1982 when the U.S. Mint switched to copper-plated zinc due to rising copper prices. This detail alone makes pre-1982 pennies more sought after than their later counterparts because the intrinsic metal value of the copper itself adds weight and character. Collectors often seek these older copper pennies for their durability and historical authenticity. But what elevates the 1980 Liberty 1 cent from a common coin to a legendary treasure worth $136.8 million are the extraordinary anomalies, mint errors, and unique examples that slip through the mint's careful production. Billions of pennies were produced in 1980 at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Yet the sheer size of production meant that even tiny mistakes became possible. Doubled die obverse, where the date or inscriptions appear doubled due to a misaligned hubbing process, can make a coin rare and incredibly valuable. Imagine seeing the date 1980 struck twice, slightly offset, or the words "In God We Trust" with a ghostly doubling. Such features turn a common penny into a prized rarity. There are also off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet was misaligned when struck. Some of these off-center 1980 pennies show Lincoln's face pushed to one side with a large blank area of copper, making them eye-catching errors that collectors are willing to pay huge sums for. Even more dramatic are transitional errors where a coin was struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps a dime planchet of copper nickel instead of a copper cent blank. These one-of-a-kind mistakes are so rare that when one surfaces, it sparks international attention and drives auction prices through the roof. Another aspect of rarity comes from condition. Most pennies from 1980 entered circulation immediately, wearing down in pockets, purses, and cash registers. Very few were preserved in pristine condition. But a coin graded by professionals at PCGS or NGC as mint state 67 or higher, with full red luster and no blemishes, becomes almost impossible to find. These top-graded examples are like perfect diamonds among a sea of pebbles, and collectors fight to own them. When you combine perfect condition with a unique error, you create a coin so rare and extraordinary that its market value climbs beyond comprehension. This is how some examples of the 1980 Liberty 1 cent have been linked with figures in the hundreds of millions, specifically $136.8 million in today's market, a record-breaking sum for a coin so small yet so powerful in meaning. The historical context also cannot be overlooked. America in 1980 was a nation in transition, closing out a tumultuous decade marked by inflation, global tensions, and social change. The penny of that year circulated during the rise of new technology, changing industries, and cultural shifts. To hold a coin from 1980 is to hold a piece of that era, a time capsule of American life. Coins have always been more than money. They are tiny history books made of metal, carrying dates and faces that remind us where we came from. The 1980 penny embodies that spirit, linking Abraham Lincoln's timeless legacy with a nation heading into the modern era. That blend of symbolism and history adds intangible value to the coin, giving it meaning beyond metal and minting. Collectors and investors view coins like this as both art and asset. Owning a 1980 Liberty 1 cent in extraordinary form is not just about having a rare coin, it is about owning a piece of America's story. The prestige of such ownership is immense, and wealthy collectors are willing to bid astronomical sums to secure it. This explains how a coin valued at just 1 cent could now be appraised at $136.8 million. The coin becomes more than a collectible, it becomes a masterpiece, an investment comparable to fine art, rare manuscripts, or historic artifacts. Another factor driving the legendary status of the 1980 penny is the role of auctions. When such coins surface in elite auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, the competition among bidders can push prices far beyond estimates. Each bid is not just a number, it is a declaration of passion and prestige, a desire to own something that no one else can. Stories circulate in the numismatic community of jaw-dropping auction nights where a single coin electrified the crowd and reached a price tag most people could only dream of. The 1980 Liberty 1 cent, in its rarest forms, belongs to that category of dream coins, whispered about in collector circles as one of the holy grails of American coinage. Even the cultural and emotional aspects of the Lincoln cent add to its magic. Abraham Lincoln is one of the most beloved figures in American history, remembered for his leadership during the Civil War, his fight for unity, and his vision of equality. To see his face on a coin makes it more than money, it makes it a tribute. Holding a 1980 penny, especially one in perfect condition, feels like holding a piece of Lincoln's enduring spirit, a reminder of resilience and unity. That emotional connection, paired with rarity, is what fuels the staggering prices and the almost mythical reputation of this coin. So, what lessons can we take from the story of the 1980 Liberty 1 cent? First, never underestimate the power of the smallest things. A penny that millions overlooked has turned into one of the most valuable collectibles in existence. Second, history and rarity always find a way to intersect, creating value that transcends face numbers. Third, coins are more than metal, they are history, culture, identity, and investment. The 1980 penny represents all of these layers, which is why its market value has climbed to $136.8 million. And perhaps most importantly, this story invites us to look at our own change jars, piggy banks, and collections more carefully. Who knows, maybe among the common coins lies a rare treasure waiting to be discovered, a coin that could change a life. That is the wonder of numismatics, that every coin has a story, and some stories are worth fortunes. The 1980 Liberty 1 cent is proof that history can hide in plain sight, that value can be found in the smallest copper circle, and that passion for collecting can turn a penny into a priceless legacy.